In the early 1990s, I was tasked with flying a bomber escort mission high over the desert. I was in the second of two F-14s, and our job was to proceed the strike package into the target area and make sure there was nobody loitering around who might try to ruin their day. We were flying in what is known as a high trail formation, which was actually an old formation that hadn't been used since World War II in Korea, where my aircraft, as the wing aircraft, was about 1,500 feet behind and about 1,500 feet above the lead aircraft. And our job was to make sure nobody snuck up on the lead and tried to spoil their day. The problem with this formation is that nobody was guarding our six. That formation had been replaced with what's called combat spread, where we can provide mutual support. And the reason we were in this antiquated formation was our brand new executive officer. And for those of you unfamiliar with the military, this is the #2 person in the squadron, the equivalent to a senior vice president, had changed our standard operating procedure to this high trail. So there we are, 25,000 feet, when we get the call from our airborne controller, 2 bandits, 50 miles, 170, Angels 4. And in that brief transmission, we knew we had 2 confirmed bad guys south of us, 50 miles, 4,000 feet above sea level, which in this particular part of the world meant they were just above the ground. Now the good news, we were flying the F-14A Tomcat, which had the most powerful airborne radar system ever designed by man. The bad news, we were pointing this very powerful radar system at the largest target around, Mother Earth itself. You see, the bad guys knew by flying low to the ground that our massive radar energy would reflect back and hide them. We called it hiding in the weeds. So we get the call, the pilots point the plane south, push the throttles forward, and the radar intercept officer and the lead aircraft and myself start working the radars trying to find the bad guys. Meanwhile, the controller's counting down the miles, 45 miles, 40 miles, no joy. We don't have them on our radars yet. 35 miles, 30 miles. Now I'm starting to get worried. The hairs on my head are starting to stand up. Yes, I actually did have hair back then. 25 miles. We're well within missile engagement range, and still we don't have them. 15, 10, and then I heard it. The words I never wanted to hear before without having a confirmed radar contact: merge. That meant on the controller's radar screen, our image and the enemy's image have joined together, and they can no longer help us out. They can't tell good guys from bad. I immediately start looking over my shoulder, literally, because at this point the radar is useless. A head comes out of the cockpit, I look right, I look left. There I see it, 7 o'clock low, 2 bandits coming nose on, trying to get into a firing position. I get on the radio, brake left, bandits, 7 o'clock low. Immediately, my body weighs over 1,000 pounds as we pull in a hard 6G turn. We're trying to get them to shoot past us so we could possibly reverse and get into an advantageous position. Unfortunately, the same wiliness that had them coming in low had them in the perfect position. We were desperately running out of speed and running out of ideas. So we did the only thing any self-respecting naval aviator will do in such a desperate no-win situation. We died an inglorious death. Fortunately, this was a training mission. We heard knock it off, return to base. The pilot put the plane headed north, we tucked our tail between our legs, and we went back. And I gotta tell you, we were not happy. We were one of Miramar's premier squadrons. We had been accolades for years. We had a storied past that went all the way back to World War II. And in a matter of seconds, we were humiliated. All because our new executive officer, our new boss, changed the brief. I thought, wow, this is going to be terrible. And as we parked the plane and walked back for our debrief, knowing we're going to talk about everything that went wrong, we're going to talk about our position, our failure to get radar contact, everything but the one thing that truly went wrong: the failure in leadership. And this story gets repeated time and time again in businesses where the managers who haven't worked in the field for many years are telling the people who do the job every day how to do it, and they get it wrong, to the sacrifice of morale. I thought when I left this squadron in 2 years that this was going to be a worse experience. Little did I know that our executive officer, who was going to be our CO, was actually what I call a locked-on leader. And he was going to change my mind and become one of the best managers, leaders I've ever worked for.